Hi, I'm Ali. I'm one of the physios from treatmyachilles.com. We are an online specialist service for Achilles tendon problems where we offer virtual physiotherapy appointments, which means we can do an initial assessment followed by a rehabilitation program over a period of time to get you back to the activities that you would like to do. Information on that service can be found underneath the description of this video. What I wanted to talk to you today about is whether you can walk when you have Achilles pain or an Achilles problem. This is quite a common thing that people tend to Google, and it's a question that we get quite commonly. What we're thinking about when an Achilles is causing pains and problems, so causing an Achilles tendinopathy, is the tendon is starting to get a bit irritated and a bit angry. And normally this is a response to loading. Now, loading in this context means the activity that you're asking this Achilles to do. And they're generally, if you look back over the last weeks to months, maybe a change in that activity. It could be that you've had some time off and then gone back to normal, or you've increased what you normally do, or you've changed footwear, or changed terrain, or changed the speed that you do your activity at, and in this case we're talking about walking, or you have changed the elevation that you're walking at, because the more that you are going uphill, the more that you are on your tiptoes, which makes your calf and Achilles complex work harder. So if you have this Achilles tendinopathy, and there is a link to a description about how to know whether you have one of those Achilles tendinopathies with the common symptoms in the description below as well, what we are then looking for is trying to help with that load management, that activity management, and that will then answer the question about whether you can continue to walk. So a good rule is a niggle rule of 0 to 3. And again, there is a description of a video that we've done on how to know when to do your activity underneath, which describes this further. But this 0 to 3, this niggle only rule, is something that tells us that your Achilles isn't getting more irritated with the activity that you're doing, and we can maintain the activity that you can do within that niggle. So if you were to go for a walk and your pain stays at that 0 to 2 out of 10 during that walk and for the 24 hours after, because it's really common to get a latent response, a pain later on, or a reaction the next morning like stiffness when you're getting out of bed. So if you have maintained that 24-hour pattern at a niggle only, then you know that amount of walking is not irritating your Achilles tendon further. So we could go through the rest of our days just keeping at this niggle only, and that might mean that you can quite comfortably walk for a period of time. But if you were to try and then increase that amount of walking, or again change any of those parameters like elevation that we spoke about earlier, you might find that Achilles tendon starts to flare back up again. So how do you go and treat that? Well, that's when strengthening programs come in. And those strengthening programs need to be progressive and gradually getting more difficult over a period of time to replicate the amount of demand that you need to do when you're doing your activity, so when you're walking. As you get stronger, that Achilles and calf complex gets more robust. As it gets more robust, it can withstand more activity, so therefore you can walk further within that niggle rule. You get stronger, you walk further again until you're back at the top with whatever activity and whatever amount of hiking and walking that you want to do. If you would like to get more advice on a tailor-made program for you about how to adapt your walking or how to do the strengthening exercises, then that is something we can help with. All these programs need to be individualized and are made just especially for you, because it takes into account all of the different factors that could be causing your Achilles tendinopathy, how strong you are now, what activity you want to do, and how we can progress that forward, what equipment you may have to do the exercises, and so on and so on. I hope this makes sense. Thanks very much. Take care. Bye.